My wife asked me to open a box after her funeral. Inside was a letter that started, "Sarah isn't yours. Thomas is her father. How do you get revenge on someone who's already dead? I'm going to tell you. Margaret died on a Tuesday. Lung cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. Everyone said it was quick, merciful. I held her hand the last 3 days while she slept through the morphine, and when she finally stopped breathing, the nurse said, 'She's at peace now.' I believed that. For exactly 3 months, I believed my wife was at peace. Then I found the box. It was in her closet. Behind the winter coats we never wore anymore because we'd retired to Florida, but kept anyway. You know how that goes? I was cleaning out her things. Sarah, my daughter, had offered to help, but I told her I needed to do it alone. Margaret's clothes still smelled like her perfume. White diamonds. I'd bought her the same bottle every Christmas for 40 years. I found the box on the top shelf. Wooden, dark walnut, maybe 12 inches by 8. A cheap padlock from a hardware store held it shut. The kind kids use on gym lockers. There was a note taped to the lid. Margaret's handwriting. "Open after my funeral. I'm sorry." M. I stood there holding that box for 20 minutes. My arms got tired. I sat down on the closet floor, still holding it. The carpet smelled like lavender and dust. Somehow I knew, opening it would change everything. I wanted to open it because it was hers. I dreaded opening it because that note said, "I'm sorry." Margaret never apologized. Not in 41 years of marriage. She'd say I was wrong or I should have done better. But never, "I'm sorry." That's how I knew. I grabbed a screwdriver from the kitchen, came back. The lock broke easier than I expected. One twist and the metal snapped. Inside, on top of everything else, was an envelope. My name written across the front in her handwriting, but not recent handwriting. This was from decades ago. The ink had faded to blue-gray. The paper was yellowed at the edges. I opened it. 8 pages, handwritten. That same faded cursive. The letter started simple. "William, I need to tell you about 1984, the year Sarah was born." I remember thinking, okay, maybe she had debts I didn't know about. Or maybe she'd had a health scare she kept secret. I kept reading. I was unfaithful. The word hung there. Unfaithful. I read it 3 times. Each time I thought I'd misunderstood. Each time, the word stayed exactly the same. It wasn't once. It wasn't one man. From January 1984 to August 1985, I was with 5 different men. I stopped breathing. She'd listed them, names and dates, like a receipt, like evidence in a trial. Number 1, Robert Chen, January to March 1984. Number 2, Michael Patterson, March to May 1984. Number 3, David Cooper, April to June 1984. Wait, David Cooper, my best friend David who died 10 years ago. David who was Sarah's godfather. I kept reading. Number 4, Anthony Martinez, June to July 1984. Number 5, Thomas Davis, July to August 1984. I read that name 3 times. Thomas Davis, my brother, Sarah's godfather, her biological father. The letter continued. Margaret's handwriting got darker in some places, like she'd pressed down hard when she wrote his name. I got pregnant in August 1984. I didn't know which one was the father. I told you it was yours. You were so happy. I didn't. William, I'm sorry. I sat on that closet floor for 2 hours. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I just read those 8 pages over and over. She explained each one. Robert was a colleague from her teaching job. Michael was someone she'd met at a conference. David, she'd known him as long as I had. He came to our wedding. He held Sarah when she was born. Anthony was a neighbor, married, moved away in 1986. Ann Thomas, my brother, 3 years younger than me, the best man at my wedding. Margaret wrote, "Thomas and I were together that last month, late July, early August. I know the timing. Sarah was born May 3rd, 1985. That makes Thomas the most likely father. I've always known. I'm sorry I never told you. I'm sorry I let you love her thinking she was yours. Let me love her, like it was a gift she gave me, permission to love my own daughter. Except Sarah wasn't my daughter. I sat there thinking about every moment, every birthday, every time Sarah called me dad, her first steps, her first day of school. walking her down the aisle at her wedding, holding her babies, my grandchildren. Except they weren't my grandchildren, were they? I thought about Thomas. Sunday dinners, fishing trips. How he'd always made a point to visit Sarah when she was young. How he'd paid for part of her college education. Said it was an uncle's privilege. How Sarah's kids called him Uncle Thomas. The letter ended with, "I can't ask for forgiveness. I'm already gone. But you deserve the truth. I'm giving you what I never gave you while I was alive. The choice to do what you need to do with this information. The evidence is in the box. I prepared it for you. I'm sorry, William. I loved you. That part was always true." I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope. My hands were shaking. Then I looked in the box. There was more. A sealed envelope marked DNA paternity test results. Lab logo embossed on the corner. Recent. Dated 6 months before Margaret died. I opened it. The paper was thick. Official? The kind that costs money to produce. I skimmed past the technical language until I found the summary. Alleged father, William James Davis. Tested child, Sarah Margaret Davis Anderson. Paternity probability, 0% conclusion, William James Davis is excluded as the biological father. 0.00, not unlikely, not low probability, not even possibly excluded. 0. The report included a photo, Sarah's baby picture, the same one we'd framed in our living room for 40 years. Margaret had written in the margin in pencil, "She has his eyes, not mine, his." I sat there holding a piece of paper that said, "I'd lived a lie for 40 years. If you've ever learned a truth too late, a truth that rewrote your entire history, you know the feeling. If you've been through something like this, just leave one word in the comments. Rewritten. You don't have to explain, I'll know. I found the next item in the box, Margaret's medical records, from 1984. Appointments. A pregnancy test dated August 15th, 1984. Positive. And clipped to it, a receipt. From a lab. Dated 6 months before she died. She'd taken Sarah's DNA without telling anyone. She'd gotten her own DNA. She'd paid for a full paternity panel. She'd known the truth scientifically, definitively. 6 months before the cancer took her. She'd known. And she'd let me bury her thinking we had a life together. That's when the numbness broke. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry. The kind of anger that makes you cold, that makes you stop shaking, that makes you very, very quiet. Margaret had prepared this. She'd tested Sarah's DNA without Sarah knowing. She'd compiled evidence. She'd written that letter. She'd put it all in a box with a note that said, "Open after my funeral." She'd known I'd find out. She wanted me to find out, but only after she was dead. Only after she was safe from having to face me. I looked back in the box. There was more. 5 Polaroid photographs, faded, the kind of color-saturated film quality from the 1980s. I picked up the first one, Margaret, younger, maybe 32. She was standing by a lake. I recognized it immediately, our family cabin upstate. We'd bought it in 1982. She wasn't alone. There was a man next to her, his hand on her waist, both of them smiling. I turned the photo over, handwritten date on the back, July 12th, 1984. I looked at the man's face again. Thomas. My brother had his hand on my wife's waist at our family cabin. At the place where I'd proposed to Margaret 6 years earlier. I went through the other photos, different men, different locations. One was in our car, my car, the blue Chevy I'd bought in 1983. Margaret was in the passenger seat. A man I didn't recognize was leaning in through the window, kissing her cheek. Another photo. Our bedroom. I recognized the wallpaper. The quilt Margaret's mother had made us as a wedding gift. Margaret was sitting on the edge of the bed. A man's hand, just a hand, not his face, was on her shoulder. The third photo was David. My best friend, David. He and Margaret at some restaurant, his arm around her. Both of them looking at the camera like they were a couple. The fourth photo. A man I didn't recognize. They were at a park, holding hands. The fifth photo. Thomas again. This one was different. They were at the lake. Same location as the first photo. But this time, Thomas had his hand on Margaret's stomach. Her flat stomach. I turned it over. Date written on back. July 12th, 1984. I did the math. Sarah was born May 3rd, 1985. That's 9 months after July. August 1984, 2 weeks before Margaret told me she was pregnant, my brother had his hand on her stomach at our family cabin. I set the photo down, carefully, like it might explode. Then I saw the last item in the box, a USB drive, unlabeled, 8 GB. I took the box to my office, plugged the USB into my laptop, one video file, 4 minutes, 37 seconds. I clicked play. Margaret's face appeared on screen. She was thin. The chemo had taken her hair. She wore a scarf I recognized, blue with white flowers. I'd bought it for her when she started losing her hair. This video was recorded maybe 4 months before she died. She looked directly at the camera, at me. William. Just my name. Her voice was weak but clear. If you're watching this, then I'm gone. And you've opened the box. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know sorry doesn't fix 40 years. But I need you to hear me say it while you can still see my face. She paused, looked down. When she looked back up, she was crying. I was a coward. I got pregnant and I didn't know whose baby it was. I convinced myself that if I just never told you, if I just buried it deep enough, it would disappear, that you'd never have to know, that Sarah would never have to know. But secrets are like seeds, William. They grow in the dark. I wanted to turn it off. I wanted to throw the laptop across the room, but I kept watching. I had the DNA test done 6 months ago, after the diagnosis. I knew I was dying, and I thought, I owed you the truth, but I couldn't tell you to your face. I couldn't watch you look at me differently. I couldn't handle losing you while I was still alive, so I'm giving you this now. After, when I'm gone. She wiped her eyes. The men, I'm not going to explain why. There is no why that makes sense. I was selfish. I was broken. I wanted something that felt like control, and I took it. And I destroyed everything. I destroyed you. I destroyed Sarah. I destroyed us. She looked straight at the camera. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I'm giving you something I never gave you while I was alive. The truth. Do with it what you need to do, William. Expose me. Hate me. Burn everything I ever touched. You've earned that right. You've earned the choice. She leaned closer to the camera. I loved you. That part was always true. But I lied about everything else. I'm sorry. The screen went black. I sat there staring at the empty screen for an hour. Maybe longer. I didn't move, didn't blink, just sat there with my hand on the mouse. Then I picked up my phone. I called Thomas. He answered on the first ring. Hey, Will, how you holding up? I found the box, I said. Silence. What box? Don't. More silence. Thomas, I found the box. I know everything. I heard him exhale, long and slow. Will, I'm coming over, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., be there. I hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my office with the box open in front of me. The letter, the DNA test, the photos, the video file still paused on that black screen. Margaret had given me the truth. Now I had to decide what to do with it. Thomas lived 10 miles away. Same neighborhood where we grew up. He'd bought our parents' old house after they died, kept it in the family. I used to think that was noble. I drove there at 8:50 the next morning. Didn't call ahead again. Just showed up. He was waiting on the porch, still in his pajamas, unshaven. He looked older than 72. He looked like a man who hadn't slept. Good. I got out of the car, brought the box with me. Will... Inside, I said. We went into the kitchen, the same kitchen where our mother used to make Sunday dinners, the same table where Thomas and I used to do homework together, where we'd split a beer the night before my wedding, and he'd told me, Margaret's the one. Don't screw it up. I set the box on that table. Thomas stared at it, didn't touch it. How long have you known? I asked. Will, please... How long? He sat down, put his head in his hands. Since the beginning. The room tilted. I gripped the back of the chair. Since 1984, he said quietly. Margaret told me she was pregnant in August. She said it might be mine. She said it might be yours. She didn't know. And you just... What? Kept your mouth shut for 40 years? He looked up at me. His eyes were red. What was I supposed to do? Tell you your wife cheated? Tell you with your brother? Ruin your marriage? Ruin Sarah's life before she was even born? Yes, I said. The word came out cold, flat. That's exactly what you were supposed to do. I couldn't. You could. You didn't want to. He stood up. Don't you think I wanted to tell you? Don't you think I carried this every single day? If you carried it, you would have been crushed by it. But you weren't. You came to Sunday dinners, you held Sarah, you played grandpa to her kids, you sat at my table every holiday and looked me in the eye. That's not carrying guilt, Thomas. That's living with a lie and getting comfortable. He flinched. I opened the box, took out the Polaroid, the one of him with his hand on Margaret's stomach, slid it across the table. July 12th, 1984. He picked it up. His hands shook. 2 weeks before Margaret told me she was pregnant, I said. That's you, with your hand on her stomach, at our family cabin, the cabin I inherited from Dad, the cabin where I proposed to Margaret. I know. Were there others, other times, other places? He set the photo down, shook his head. It was 6 weeks, July through mid-August. It ended when she found out she was pregnant. She chose you. She chose me. I laughed. It sounded wrong in that kitchen, hollow. She didn't choose me, Thomas. She chose the easy lie, and you let her. I wanted to tell you 1,000 times. You had 40 years. You chose silence. Now I choose consequences. His face went pale. What are you going to do? I picked up the box, looked at my brother who'd betrayed me, my brother who'd fathered my daughter, my brother who'd watched me raise his child and said nothing. I don't know yet, I said. But when I figure it out, you'll be the second to know. I left, didn't say goodbye, didn't look back. He called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. The next 3 weeks, I didn't leave my house much. I told Sarah I needed time alone. Grief, I said. She understood, brought me casseroles I didn't eat, offered to stay over. I sent her home. I had work to do. Margaret's diary was still in the box. I'd seen it that first night, but hadn't opened it. Leather-bound, red ribbon bookmark. Every page filled with her handwriting. 40 years of lies in a leather diary. I started with 1984, January 15th, 1984. Met someone at the district conference, Robert. He listened to me talk about the classroom like William used to before he got so busy with work. We had coffee. Just coffee. February 3rd, 1984. Robert and I have been meeting for coffee every week. William asked where I go on Thursdays. I told him book club. He believed me. March 10th, 1984. Ended things with Robert, met Michael at a training seminar. He's different, younger, makes me feel like I'm not just William's wife. I read every page like it was a trial transcript. Every entry was another count against her. I couldn't stop. April 22nd, 1984. David called today. William's best friend David. We talked for 2 hours. He's having problems with his wife. I told him I understood. We're meeting for lunch tomorrow. David, my best friend. The man who'd been my best man. Who'd held Sarah in the hospital. Who died of a heart attack 10 years ago, and I'd cried at his funeral. May 8th, 1984. I think I'm in love with David, not like William. Different. David sees me. William sees his wife, his schedule, his routine. David sees Margaret. I had to stop reading. Put the diary down. Went to the bathroom and vomited. Have you ever read something you wished you could unread? That was every page. I came back. Kept reading. June 30th, 1984. Ended things with David. He wanted me to leave William. I can't do that. Met Anthony at the neighborhood cookout. William was there. He didn't even notice Anthony looking at me. July 19th, 1984. Thomas called, asked if he could come by the cabin while William's on his business trip. I know I shouldn't. He's William's brother. But I said yes. July 28th, 1984. Thomas and I spent the weekend at the cabin. I think I'm pregnant. I don't know if it's his or if it's from that last time with William in June. I'm terrified. I'm going to take a test. August 15th, 1984. Positive, I'm pregnant. I told William tonight. He cried. Happy tears. He said he's always wanted to be a father. I'm going to hell. September 2nd, 1984. Thomas called, asked if the baby is his. I told him I don't know. He asked what we're going to do. I told him we're going to do nothing. This baby is William's. He has to be William's. I skipped ahead. Years, decades. November 3rd, 2000. Sarah turned 16 today. She has Thomas's eyes. I see it every time I look at her. William doesn't see it, or maybe he doesn't want to. She has his stubborn jaw, too, the way she tilts her head when she's thinking. I've lived with this lie for 16 years. I think I can live with it forever. June 12th, 2010. David died today, heart attack. William's devastated. He can't stop crying. He said David was the best man he ever knew. I didn't go to the funeral. I told William I had the flu. Truth is, I couldn't face it. Couldn't face that David took my secrets to his grave. March 3rd, 2024. The doctor said it's cancer. Stage 4, 6 months, maybe less. I asked William to leave the room. I asked the doctor if I have time to get my affairs in order. He said yes. I think I'm going to tell William the truth. I think I owe him that. March 30th, 2024. I can't tell him. I've tried 3 times. The words won't come. He holds my hand and tells me we'll fight this together. How do I tell him we've been fighting a lie for 40 years? I'm going to write a letter instead. I'm going to leave him the truth in a box. I'm a coward. That was 6 months before she died. She'd known she was dying. She'd had half a year to tell me, face to face, while I held her hand and told her I loved her. But she chose to tell me after. When she couldn't see my face, when she couldn't hear me scream, I closed the diary. I had read 40 years in 3 nights. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, just read and underlined passages with post-it notes. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment she'd looked me in the eye and chosen silence. By the end, I had 97 post-it notes, 97 moments where she could have told me, 97 times she chose the lie. I needed to know about the others. The 4 men who weren't Thomas, Robert Chen, Michael Patterson, David Cooper, Anthony Martinez. David was dead. I knew that. But the other 3, I needed to know where they were, if they knew about Sarah, if they'd carried this secret too. I went to the library, pulled public records, searched obituaries, found old yearbooks from Margaret's school district. Robert Chen, died 1996. Car accident, never married, no children. Michael Patterson, died 2003. Cancer, married, 3 kids. His obituary listed Margaret as a former colleague and friend. I wondered if his wife knew. I wondered if his kids knew. Anthony Martinez, harder to find, common name. I went through Margaret's old address book, found a phone number with a 1986 note next to it. A. Martinez, moved to Nevada. I called the number, disconnected. I searched online, found an Anthony Martinez, age 71, in a nursing home outside Las Vegas. I called the nursing home. "Is this family?" the receptionist asked. "Old friend," I said. "I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez has advanced dementia. He doesn't recognize visitors anymore." I thanked her, hung up. 3 dead or incapacitated. 1 brother still alive. Only Thomas was left. Healthy, clear-minded, living 10 miles away. Playing grandpa to Sarah's kids every Sunday. That's when I decided, Thanksgiving. I'd do it at Thanksgiving. I'd never hosted Thanksgiving before. Margaret always insisted we go to Sarah's house or Thomas's house. Rotating, tradition. But this year, I called Sarah. "I want to host," I said, "at my place." "Dad, are you sure? That's a lot of work." "I'm sure. I want the whole family. Everyone. Your kids, your husband, Thomas, the cousins, everyone." She hesitated. "That's like 30 people." "I know. I want a big Thanksgiving. First one without your mom. I think she'd want us all together." That convinced her. "Okay, Dad. We'll make it happen. You need help with food?" "I'll handle it." "You sure you're okay? You sound different." I looked at the box on my desk, the diary, the photos, the DNA report. "I've never been clearer about anything in my life, Sarah." She laughed, didn't know it wasn't a joke. "All right, Thanksgiving at your place. I'll tell everyone." I spent the next month preparing, not the food, the speech. I wrote it out longhand, rehearsed it in the mirror, timed it. 11 minutes, start to finish. I practiced my tone, calm, clear, no yelling, no crying, just facts, evidence, truth. I set a date with the lawyer, updated my will, everything to charity. Sarah would inherit what was Margaret's, fair is fair, Margaret's money was Margaret's, but nothing from me. No house, no retirement savings, no life insurance payout. The lawyer asked why. Personal reasons, I said. He didn't push. If someone raised you, are they your parent, or does blood define family? I didn't know anymore, but I knew this. I wasn't going to pretend, not anymore. Sarah called 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Hey Dad, just confirming, you still want to do this? Absolutely. You've been so quiet lately, I'm worried about you. Don't worry, I'm fine. You're grieving, it's okay to not be fine. I thought about the box, the letter, Margaret's video, Thomas's face when I showed him the photo. I'm not grieving anymore, I said. What do you mean? I'll explain at Thanksgiving. Dad, I have to go, Sarah. See you in 2 weeks. I hung up. She texted me 3 times that day asking if I was okay. I didn't respond. If you've ever planned something you knew would destroy people you love, you know the weight I carried. Would you do it? Would you blow up your family to honor the truth? Or would you bury it, keep the peace but live with the lie? Let me know, truth or peace. I want to know if I did the right thing. The night before Thanksgiving, I couldn't sleep. I laid out all the evidence on my bed like an exhibit, the letter, the DNA report, the photos, the diary open to the marked pages, the USB drive. I picked up Margaret's wedding photo from my nightstand. We were 26, young, smiling. I had my arm around her waist. She was looking at the camera like she couldn't believe her luck. 41 years ago. I almost called it off. I thought about Sarah, her kids, how they'd look at me after tomorrow, how they'd look at Thomas, how Thanksgiving would never be the same. I thought about Margaret in that video. Do with it what you need to do, William. I thought about 40 years of Sunday dinners, 40 years of Thomas sitting at my table, 40 years of looking at Sarah and thinking she had my eyes. I looked at the DNA report again, 0.0%. I put the papers back in the box. Tomorrow, everyone would know. Thanksgiving Day. I got up at 6, made coffee, set the table for 32 people, folding chairs borrowed from the church, paper plates because I didn't own enough real ones. The turkey went in the oven at 7. I didn't care if it was dry. Sarah arrived at noon with her husband Jennifer and the kids. Emma, 8 years old, ran up and hugged my legs. Grandpa, we brought pie. I smiled, picked her up. That's my girl. Sarah looked around. Dad, this is... Wow, you did all this yourself? I had time. Where do you want us? Anywhere. People will start showing up soon. Thomas arrived at 1. He saw me through the window and hesitated on the porch. I opened the door. Come in, I said. He looked terrible, thinner, gray. He'd aged a decade in 3 weeks. Will, can we talk before everyone gets here? No, please go sit down, Thomas. He went into the living room, sat in the corner, didn't talk to anyone. By 2 o'clock, everyone was there. Sarah's in-laws, my cousins, Thomas's kids, my nephews, technically, though one of them was actually Sarah's half-brother, and nobody knew it yet. Neighbors, friends from church. 32 people crowded into my house, talking and laughing and asking me how I was holding up. First Thanksgiving without Margaret, they said. Must be so hard. I smiled, said thank you, poured wine. At 3, I stood up. Can I have everyone's attention? The room quieted. Sarah looked at me from across the room, smiled. Thought I was going to give a toast about Margaret, about family, about gratitude. I walked to the fireplace, picked up the box. I'd placed it there this morning, on the mantel, visible. Sarah had noticed it earlier. What's that, Dad? A gift from your mother, I'd said. I'm going to open it for everyone. Now I held it in front of 32 people. Before we eat, I said, I need to share something Margaret left me, a confession about 1984, about Sarah, about my brother Thomas. The room went completely silent. I opened the box. 3 months ago, I found this box in Margaret's closet. There was a note on it. It said, "Open after my funeral. I'm sorry." I took out the letter. Inside was an 8-page letter. Margaret wrote it 4 months before she died. She knew she was dying, and she decided to tell me the truth. Not to my face, not while she was alive, but after, when she couldn't see my reaction, when she couldn't hear what I'd say. Sarah stood up. Dad, what are you? Sit down, Sarah. My voice wasn't loud, but everyone heard it. She sat. I unfolded the letter. Margaret wrote, I need to tell you about 1984, the year Sarah was born. I was unfaithful. It wasn't once. It wasn't one man. From January 1984 to August 1985, I was with 5 different men. Someone gasped. I didn't look to see who. I kept reading. Number 1, Robert Chen, January to March 1984. Number 2, Michael Patterson, March to May 1984. Number 3, David Cooper. I paused, looked around the room. David Cooper, my best friend, Sarah's godfather. The man I cried over when he died. I continued. Number 4, Anthony Martinez. Number 5, Thomas Davis, July to August 1984. I looked at Thomas. He'd gone white. People turned to stare at him. Thomas Davis, I repeated. My brother, Sarah's godfather, her biological father. Sarah made a sound, not a word, just a sound, like something broke inside her chest. I got pregnant in August 1984, I read. I didn't know which one was the father. I told you it was yours. You were so happy. I'm sorry, William. I folded the letter, set it on the mantel. Margaret didn't just write a letter, she prepared evidence. 6 months before she died, she took Sarah's DNA, got her own DNA, paid for a paternity test. She knew, scientifically, definitively. I took out the DNA report. Paternity probability, 0.00%. William James Davis is excluded as the biological father. I held it up so people could see the official letterhead, the lab logo, the numbers. 0%, I said. Not my daughter, never was. Sarah stood up again. Her face was red, tears streaming down. Dad? I'm not your dad, Sarah. The room erupted, people talking over each other, shouting. Someone was crying. Emma, Sarah's daughter, was asking her mom what was happening. I raised my voice. I also found photos. Margaret kept Polaroids, souvenirs, I guess, her with each man, including this one. I held up the photo of Thomas with his hand on Margaret's stomach. July 12th, 1984. 2 weeks before Margaret told me she was pregnant. That's my brother. With his hand on my wife's stomach. At our family cabin. The cabin where I proposed to Margaret. Thomas tried to stand, tried to leave. My nephew, his son, blocked the door. Sit down, Thomas, I said. You've been sitting at my table for 40 years. You can sit now. He sat, put his head in his hands. Sarah was staring at me, then at Thomas, then back at me. You're not my father? Her voice was so small, so broken. I looked at her. This girl, this woman I'd raised, I'd loved, I'd walked down the aisle, whose children called me Grandpa. Biologically, I said, no, I'm your uncle. Thomas is your father. She turned to Thomas. He was crying now, couldn't even look at her. Uncle Thomas? He nodded. She grabbed the edge of the table. Her husband rushed over, held her. Then she bent over and vomited on the floor. Emma started crying. Someone was yelling at me. Someone else was yelling at Thomas. My cousin's wife pulled Emma out of the room. I stood there, calm. I'd practiced this. I knew what would happen. Margaret also made a video, I said, louder now, over the noise. A confession. If anyone wants to see it, I have it on this USB drive. She explains everything, why she did it, why she never told me, why she waited until she was dead. I set the USB on the mantel next to the box. I've updated my will, I said. Sarah inherits what was Margaret's. That's fair. Margaret's money is Margaret's, but nothing from me. No house, no savings, no life insurance. I've left everything to charity. The Margaret Davis Foundation for Paternity Fraud Awareness. First donation goes out next month. Sarah looked at me like I'd stabbed her. You're punishing me? No, I said. I'm defining my legacy. You want to know what's yours? Ask your father. I pointed at Thomas. He's been carrying this secret for 40 years. Maybe he can carry your inheritance too. Thomas stood up. Will, please. Get out of my house. Will, get out. He left, stumbled out the front door. Half the room followed him, yelling, demanding answers. My nephew, Thomas's son, was screaming at him on the front lawn. Sarah collapsed into a chair. Jennifer was trying to hold her. Emma was crying in the other room. People started leaving, families grabbing coats, whispering, staring at me like I'd committed murder. Maybe I had. Within 20 minutes, the house was empty except for Sarah and her family. She sat there, staring at the floor, at the vomit she'd left on my carpet. Why? she whispered. Margaret gave me the truth, I said. I'm giving it to everyone else. You didn't have to do this. Not like this. Not in front of everyone. Yes, I did. You destroyed Thanksgiving. You destroyed our family. I looked at her. At this woman I'd raised. This woman I'd loved as my daughter for 40 years. No, I said. Margaret destroyed it. I just made sure everyone knew. She stood up, grabbed Emma's hand. Jennifer got their coats. Don't call me, Sarah said at the door. Don't come to my house. I don't want to see you. Understood? She left. I stood there in my empty house. 32 plates of cold food on the table. A box on the mantel. A pool of vomit on my carpet. I cleaned it up, threw away the food, put the folding chairs back in my car to return to the church. Then I sat down in the living room, alone. No victory, no satisfaction, no relief. Just silence. Sarah didn't call for 3 months. Thomas called. 63 times in the first week. I blocked his number. My nephews called, angry, confused. I didn't answer. The lawyer called, said Sarah was contesting the will, claiming I wasn't of sound mind when I changed it. The challenge failed. I had the psych evaluation from the week before Thanksgiving. Clean bill of mental health. Sarah got Margaret's estate. The house Margaret had inherited from her parents. Margaret's teacher's pension, her savings account, about $200,000 total. I got to keep my house, my pension, my savings, and I gave it all away. The Margaret Davis Foundation for Paternity Fraud Awareness launched in January. Initial funding, $450,000, my life savings. The foundation's mission, support men who discover paternity fraud, legal aid, therapy resources, DNA testing grants, advocacy. First press release quoted me. My wife lied for 40 years. My brother stayed silent. I raised a daughter who wasn't mine. This happens every day. We're going to talk about it. Local newspaper picked it up, then regional. Then I got a call from a literary agent. Ever thought about writing a book? I had. I called it The Weight of Silence, a memoir of betrayal and truth. Contract signed in February. Advance, $50,000. I donated it to the foundation. Writing it was brutal. I had to relive everything. The box, the letter, the photos, Margaret's video, Thanksgiving. But I wrote it. Every word. Thomas died in April, heart attack, alone in his house. He'd been cut off by everyone. Me, Sarah, his own kids, our cousins. His obituary listed no surviving immediate family. He'd requested that. At his funeral, 3 people came, a neighbor, his mailman, someone from his church who didn't know him well. I stayed home. Sarah called that night. Uncle Thomas is dead. Not Thomas. Not Dad. Uncle Thomas. I heard, I said. Do you feel guilty? No. Do you feel anything? I thought about it. No, I said. I feel nothing. And maybe that's worse. She was quiet for a long time. I got a DNA test, she said, after Thanksgiving to confirm. And 99.7% probability. Thomas was my biological father. I know. I don't know who I am anymore, she said. Her voice cracked. My whole life is a lie. My mom lied. My dad, my uncle, I don't even know what to call you. Call me William. You raised me. I did. You taught me to ride a bike. You scared off my first boyfriend. You paid for my wedding. You held my babies before I did. I didn't say anything. I don't care what the DNA says, she said. You're my father. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. No, Sarah. I'm the man who loved you anyway. That's different. It's enough, she said. You're enough. Maybe. Can I see you? Can we have coffee? When? Next week? Okay. She hung up. I sat there holding the phone. First conversation we'd had in 4 months. First time she'd asked to see me. Is revenge worth it if it leaves you empty? I didn't know. 1 year after Thanksgiving, I went back to the cemetery. Margaret's grave, simple headstone. Margaret Ann Davis, beloved wife and mother, 1956-2024. Beloved wife. I brought the diary. I'd kept it through everything. Through the book writing, through the foundation launch, through Thomas's death, through the slow, painful reconciliation with Sarah. But I couldn't keep it anymore. I also brought a metal trash can, fire safe, and a lighter. I sat down on the grass next to Margaret's headstone. I buried your lies, Margaret, I said out loud. Not your memory. Sarah will never call me Dad again. But yesterday she called me to meet her kids, as Grandpa William. Not Grandpa, not Dad, Grandpa William, like I'm a character in their life, not family. I opened the diary, one last time, flipped through 40 years of her handwriting. She brings the kids by once a month. Emma asks why I don't live with Grandma anymore. Sarah tells her Grandma's in heaven. Emma asks why I don't have pictures of Grandma in my house. I don't answer that one. I looked at the headstone. Thomas died alone. Did you know that? 6 months after I exposed you. Heart attack. Nobody came to his funeral except strangers. Your son, Sarah's half-brother, my nephew, won't even say Thomas's name. That's your legacy. That's what your lies did. I tore out the first page of the diary. I wrote a book. It's doing well. 20,000 copies sold. I get letters from men who lived through the same thing. Men who raised children who weren't theirs. Men whose wives lied. Men whose brothers stayed silent. They thank me. They say I gave them permission to be angry, to choose truth over peace. I tore out another page. I'm not angry anymore. I'm tired. I tore out page after page. 40 years of lies. I ripped them all out, made a pile in the trash can. I can't forgive you, Margaret, but I can let you go. I lit the first page, watched it catch. The flames spread, blue ink turning black, her handwriting disappearing into ash. Sarah asked me last week if I regret it, the exposure, the Thanksgiving disaster, destroying the family. I told her no. She asked if I'd do it differently. I said yes. I'd have told her privately, just her, given her the choice whether to go public. The diary was burning now, 40 years turning to smoke. But I didn't. I wanted everyone to hurt like I hurt. I wanted everyone to know what Margaret did, what Thomas did. I wanted witnesses. I wanted justice. I watched the flames. I got justice. No joy, no peace, just justice. The fire died down. The diary was ash. I stood up. My knees hurt. I'm 71 now. Old man standing at his wife's grave with a trash can full of ash. I used to think family was blood, DNA, genetics. But Sarah's not my blood, and she's still my daughter. Thomas was my blood, and he's a stranger. So, maybe family is something else. Maybe it's the people who show up, who stay, who choose you, even when they don't have to. If you've found your family outside of biology, if you've been raised by someone who wasn't your real parent, or if you've loved someone who wasn't your blood, tell me about it. Share your found family story. I'd like to hear it. I think we all would. I picked up the trash can, looked at Margaret's grave one last time. What we bury always surfaces, Margaret. But what we burn can't haunt us anymore. I left the cemetery. Sarah was waiting in my driveway when I got home. Emma was with her. We thought we'd surprise you, Sarah said. Take you to dinner. Emma ran up. Grandpa William, can we get ice cream? I looked at Sarah. She smiled, small, fragile, but real. Yeah, I said. We can get ice cream? We got in the car. Sarah drove. Emma talked the whole way about school and her friends and a boy who pulled her hair. I sat in the back seat, quiet, listening. Not her grandpa, not her father, just William. Maybe that's my revenge. I get to define my own legacy now. Not Margaret, not Thomas, me.